You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level or even your own personal health, life, and wellness, with us today is an RN investor, business owner, author, and holistic confidence coach. She owns 3 real estate businesses and a coaching business that kind of talk you through the nutrition, fitness, detox, but also the coaching program where she goes into the time management, the limiting beliefs. And we're so excited to have her on today. Alexandra Dotcheva, welcome aboard. Thanks so much for being here.
Chris, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell me more about your entrepreneurial journey. You've been an RN, you own several businesses. Tell me what that journey was like and what you're doing today.
It was interesting because, like, since you mentioned the limiting beliefs, I suffered from those for over 2 decades as a performing violinist. Before I was a nurse and entrepreneur, I was 26 years a professional classical violinist. And then with the economic crisis in 2008, I requalified. I went through nursing school, put myself through nursing school. And 4 years later, I also became a real estate investor. So being an employee and a business owner at the same time has given me an excellent perspective on how people interact and communication and overcoming limiting beliefs, because there are lots of problems you need to solve for others as a business owner and as an employee for somebody else. So it's been really great. And the coaching business truthfully came after I published the book because of demand. People wanted to be coached further than the book. And that's how it all evolved gradually. But yeah, here today.
That is an incredible journey, and it does give you this unique perspective. And we appreciate that you want to share that with the world and help people through this coaching. And as you mentioned, the limiting beliefs, what you suffered from for decades, many of us suffer from as well. We may not even recognize or realize it, that we're kind of limiting ourselves from getting to that next step and that next goal. So I love that you put that as your main point, your first focus. First, we have to work on this, and then we can take it to the next level. The next one is the time management. I think we struggle with managing our own time and being more productive, and we're just spinning our wheels. How does that work into your coaching program, and what do you like to advise your clients of?
So I teach very specific 5 aspects of people's lives. As a nurse, of course, I have to teach you health optimization. So I spend a lot of time with my clients teaching them diets and exercise methods that are completely unassociated with profitable chronic diseases. So that requires a specific type of time management, so you can integrate this whole program into your life if you want to also be a good entrepreneur, have your own business, be your own boss and all that. Because when you own your own business, nobody's supposed to tell you what to do, right? But you better know how to manage your time and hold yourself accountable in a manner that's much more strict than anybody else could or would. So people don't realize, okay, I want to fix my financial situation first and become this investor and get the tangible cash flowing assets and do my own business and all that. But if you're not healthy and if you're starting with very little money, which is what most of us do. 15 years ago, I had nothing when I started all this. And you have to be in optimal health to do the physical work that you can't pay somebody else to do for you. So people don't factor this into the whole equation. So we do the time management with regards to their health regimen, and then how they prioritize their money habits into that time management. Because if you spend a lot of time spending money where you shouldn't be spending it, I can save you the time and the money if I tell you that if you don't need it, you really don't have to spend the time on it and the money on it, but focus on your learning and developing your business strategy, whether you want to invest in cash flowing assets that are unrelated to your job, that you can manage well, and they can hold and produce cash for generations on end. Or if you want to start a business first, like your own company, but then getting the clients, it also requires a arrangement to make your time management skills congruent with your goals as an entrepreneur and business owner. So there is so much that goes into it, Chris. It's just impossible to really cover in one short conversation. But time management is one of the basic elements in for excellent mind control. And that's, I always try to tie time management with good mind control because the two of them are absolutely go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And when it comes to our time management, this is something we struggle with, and we're trying to get to that next level. And sometimes the time and money, that balance, we find a shiny object and we think that may give us a shortcut into maybe better health, a weight loss, or if I take this pill or try this regimen. Or are any of those helpful, or should we just be looking at the basics? I mean, we know diet and exercise are helpful to our health, but are there ways we can amplify this and get some shortcuts to it?
So the main idea is to understand that your health optimization is a lifelong act. You're not going to fix anything within a week or two. You can't eat healthy for 1 year reverse your chronic diseases, and then go back to your previous lifestyle that made you sick in the first place. Same thing with your money habit. So you you develop this tremendous self-discipline with both your health and your money, because if we face it, the two biggest temptations in life are bad food, expensive, unhealthy habits that are completely unnecessary, and then the shiny objects that you mentioned when we buy something to display status and kind of impress our friends, neighbors, and relatives, which is the dumbest thing you can ever do, because truthfully, that will not get you ahead financially by any stretch of the imagination. So if you get these things under control consistently, you will be able to hold these habits for the rest of your life. And you will see your wealth and health grow and optimize over the course of the next 5, 10, or 15 years like you won't believe. I apply the exact same system with my health, in my career, in my wealth building, in my relationships, in my spiritual life. Throughout these 5 aspects is the same exact system that I put into people's heads if they let me, right, as a coach. And if it makes sense to them, it works great, because you will always find your own system. But the basic principle is just so simple that if you follow it through consistently and not try to overcomplicate it or reinvent it, it works. I mean, it really works, because I achieved things in my life I never ever thought I would be able to, because I was very limited mindset wise. When I came to the States in 2000, I was extremely intimidated and really didn't want to learn anything new besides what I knew, which was practicing before between 4 walls, the violin for 9 to 10 hours a day. That's all I was doing. And now I have developed so many more skills, and I have the results to show for it. So it's worth trying it. I mean, not trying it, but actually doing it. But it's not a short-term fix. I'm not a get-rich-quick scheme. I don't like these offers. And they're all lies ultimately, because even if you get into one of these schemes, you see that there's much more work to be done than you're initially told to. Just to like sell the product or the coaching when you say, oh, it's not really easy. Let's skip the learning curve. There is no such thing as skipping the learning curve. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I see people get excited all the time about a new
Mm.
program or a new course that they want to try. And it's great if, that they want to learn more, but without the action, there won't
Mhm.
be any results. And specifically,
That's right.
like you mentioned, the short versus long term. This isn't overnight success. This is something you have to work towards. And if you want life-changing money, you need to make changes to your life in order to get that. And specifically for you, the investment side, you were able to keep your expenses low, save your money, and then choose to reinvest that to let your money work for you. Can you tell us more
Exactly.
about investment strategies, when or how people should take this approach?
Absolutely. Well, depending what investments you're talking about, I am really a cash flow investor. I'm not so much a capital gains. I love the cash flow. I love tangible assets that I can touch, manage myself independently, and control. All right. So it also ties up with whether you own a business or you're somebody's employee. You got to realize you cannot get rich. It's extremely hard to get rich with a job. Okay. So you need to find ways to first discipline yourself with your spending, remove all that credit, and then what you save. It's not hard to save money at all. I can teach a monkey how to save money, but once you save the money, what do you do with it to make it grow and beat inflation 2, 3, 4 times in your life? When you invest, the first earnings, first of all, you have to invest money towards improving the quality of your investment and the value of it, even if you're not selling it back to the market for capital gains, but you have to retain your clients, which in my case are my renters, my tenants, my residents, and you retain them at a price that is completely affordable compared to the rest of the markets. That's the other objective that I've always had. So you need to understand the marketing cycles. Any investment that you make, you have to do a lot of learning before you jump into it, because there really aren't as many risky investments, risks, but there are risky investors because people are not patient with the learning and they jump into whatever idea somebody gives them, or the TV, mainstream media, some friend, some colleague, without doing their due diligence to understand the risk and risk management, because there is no investment without risk. Okay. But your growth process is exactly like you said. The first earnings that you have, you don't go and buy yourself a Porsche. You collect it, you improve your first property, and then whatever is remaining, you save towards the next investment. That's the best way to grow. And then, of course, once you acquire several investment properties, I know people with 10 properties, 26 properties, 45, 50 properties, they manage themselves. Once you have so many, that becomes your full-time job, or you hire somebody. It's up to you how much you want to manage and how much money you want to give somebody else to manage your property. Do you trust that person? Are they trustworthy? Are they doing the job that they marketed they were going to do? So a lot goes into factoring all this. And then, of course, taxes and legal implications. Again, it's a matter of learning. It's a constant learning. Okay. You can take a course for a year or 3 months or 4 months, and then you have to take the action. And once you start doing your own investments, you learn some more. And that's just the way it is. We all make mistakes. We all take risks and we all take responsibility. Every successful investor I know has done that, and they do it over and over again in spite of the anxiety. I might get it wrong this time around, but with experience, you get things wrong fewer and fewer times. And it's an amazing way to see your portfolio grow successfully. And the real trick is not to get arrogant over it and just always stay vigilant and diligent.
That is some great insight. And I love that you touch on the aspect of growing your business to the size that you want. We all have our own aspirations, our end goals of what we want to achieve. Not everyone wants to invest in a certain way or have a certain business or grow it to a certain extent. But as you said, your comfort level, hiring on an employee, maybe a small team to get to a level that will allow you that time freedom now so you don't have to work that full time when it becomes a full time job. And as business owners, we're kind of stuck in our business, working a lot. Some say we're married to our business or it is our baby as if it's our own child. How do we manage our business and our relationships? Because that can suffer as business owners are stressed or just simply too busy.
The whole philosophy with relationship management, I applied the exact same principle as health management and financial management. I just cut off the unnecessary, cut off the trash. I don't socialize for the sake of socialization because that's a huge waste of time. But if I'm to have a relationship with somebody, I either learn a lot from them or I give them an opportunity to learn from me if they want to. That's the type of socialization I do. And when you know how little curiosity most people display nowadays, and how inclined they are, much more inclined they are towards gossiping and just killing time with talking, there are too many choices for good quality relationships. So to me, at this point, I'm almost 50 years old. There are too many temptations to jump into conversations that won't benefit the other person from me or me from them in a learning way or some skill exchange way that we can help each other and help our businesses grow or whatever. But relationships, you have to be just as sparing and prioritizing with your time with people as you are with your buying the bad foods or not skipping your exercise days for the sake of something that you don't really need or with the shiny objects, because some relationships are nothing more than shiny objects, unfortunately. And people go into relationships for whatever status they want to acquire at some point, then they discover they made a mistake. And it's okay to make mistakes with relationships, but when you keep repeating them in sustaining relationships that are leading you nowhere or are detrimental to your well-being, that's where you have to set some limits. And many people have hard time doing that, oddly enough.
I find it a little humorous that you say socializing just to socialize doesn't actually produce results. And it's funny because as I look back, I'm like, wow, my relationship and business grew when I actually had relationships where we could exchange value, ideas, tips, and tricks with each other. And that provided a more enlightening conversation. I was more excited. Socializing just for socializing, it's like, how was the game? How was the weather? What'd you do this week? As opposed to more engaging conversation. So I love that you focus on sharing and bringing and extracting value between each other in order to build each other up, which is so important. Now that you're at where you're at in your journey, what would be something you would tell your younger self, like some sort of advice to get you further if you could talk to your younger self?
No, man. I mean, that's what I write wrote. That's why I wrote the book, because it really is the book that I wish I would have read 15 years ago. I would have told myself, quit beating around the bush, get your shit together, stop wasting time, and just get it done. And the problem with me was that I invested 30 years of my life as a professional violinist to start very young. I came to the States from Bulgaria to earn a master's and a doctoral degree, and I knew I wasn't competitive enough, much as I made a great progress with my professor in the United States, but the market was so brutal. And then the orchestra started bankrupting because there was no support from the communities. And it was extremely hard to face that this wasn't working for me. So I wasted at least 5, maybe 3 to 4 years, but I knew I was not going to make it as the way I wanted. I could have started the whole nursing thing 4 years before I started. My midlife crisis came at 32. I could have started at 28. But when you have invested so much time from yourself and effort, you're in denial that it's not going to work. So I would have told myself, then feel it's not working. You've done it already for over 20 years. Try something else now while your brain is younger and can learn more easier and faster. But it's you're afraid because people will judge you. They're used to you being who you are for the 20 years or whatever. And the musicians, it's sports people. It's out because we start so young. And by the time we start seriously looking for jobs, we've already spent with the trade for like 20 years, where most people think of retirement after 20 years of doing something. We start our real job search and applications and everything. It's a very different mindset that I'm glad I got away from, because if it grasps you, you won't be able to change your life. And I know lots of musicians who would have done something else better than music, but because they didn't know how, they never dared make that step out of their comfort zone, which is not comfortable, but it's comfortable because that's all you know, right? Like somebody who goes out of jail several times and then they commit a crime and go back to jail because they know nothing but jail. It's the same type of a self imprisonment where you're so committed to a profession from very early on. So that's what I had told myself. Don't waste your time. It's not working. Do something else. Even if you fail. See, but the other thing was because I was so academic with bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in academia, mistakes are not allowed. They're frowned upon. And so I was very afraid that if I go somewhere else, I would make big mistakes, until I learned that mistakes were okay, but it took a while.
Wow, absolutely. And where can people find out more about you online and get a copy of your book?
So my website's my baby, right? One of my businesses, holisticselfconfidence.com. Okay. So the paperback is available in the US only because of the high shipping prices, but the ebook is throughout the website, on Amazon, on Apple Books, Barnes and Noble, Smashwords, and their distributors. The title of the book is It Really Is Simple, A Holistic Approach to Self-Confidence. So the website is holisticselfconfidence.com. People can find the book there. They can see my coaching page, my blog, media appearances, anything they want.
Very nice. And what are you looking forward to most for wrapping up 2024 into 2025? I see you're pushing the book, but are there any other initiatives or ideas that you're focusing on right now?
Truthfully, if I can reach most people for coaching, although I have to say that the book was not an advertising material for my coaching. So everything that a lot of the things I know are in the book. So if you actually get it, you will have a much more inexpensive access to me and will learn much more inexpensively than if you buy a coaching program. So I always tell people, look, read the books first of the people who you want to learn from, and see if you won't learn enough already from the book itself. Other things I'm pushing, I work with very select group of students, because we always have a first free session. It could be an hour to 3 hours long. I don't charge people for the first session, but if we're not a good match, we acknowledge this right away and don't waste each other's time. Because if you're coming to me, I'm assuming that you are ready to take responsibility for your well-being. And if you're going to start arguing with me the first 5 minutes, we're not a good match, because why do you want to spend money to argue with me all the way, right? So we have this conversation. And of course, the other thing is with improving the businesses with from real estate, the whole goal is to keep it affordable. I can really safely say that I have the most affordable housing in the Phoenix area right now, because I never took advantage of the guild, grid, and everything that came after the COVID. So the real estate businesses are a very important learning curve for me. They have been 10 years. And so I just look forward to ways to improve that too. Everything you do is a work in progress. So there's a lot to do.
Thank you for being one of those landlords and real estate investors who actually focuses on helping people and having affordable rates and not going for the greed that many of these companies and corporations are raking in record profits right now. We have record high
Yeah.
inflation. There has to be a balance between keeping things affordable and having assigned value towards goods and services that are out there. So thanks for being
Absolutely.
realistic.
Absolutely.
Now, Alexandra, any imparting advice or wisdom for any of our marketers, entrepreneurs, business owners who are out there?
So there's a lot of advice I can give, but depending which niche you're in, just learn as much as you can. Use mentors. Use mentors, because mentors are important if they're willing to share with you their own failures and fears that they had before they were successful. I usually prefer to use mentors that started from nowhere, because I was one of those people. And see, my mentor, Robert Kiyosaki with the Rich Dad Company, I read first 7 books from him before I actually bought the expensive real estate coaching in 2014. But depending how you are, because you know how the notion is that if you're rich, you're lucky and all that. Understand that many successful people were not lucky, but they really wanted to put in the work. And if you see an opportunity knocking on your door, expect to triple the amount of work that you'll have to do if you really want to take the best advantage of this opportunity. So use mentors your whole life. If you can change mentors, just keep reading books all the time, sign for courses, go to seminars, whatever best works for you. But always be mindful of your time, because you think you have a lot of time now if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, but you really don't, because it takes longer than you think to develop a successful business. Or you'll have to be very stingy with your decisions and your time and resources. And it's a constant battle with your impulses to show things that can be better, but actually reality teaches you differently. Just don't despair and really start today. Start today because there is no time to waste. I'm telling you, there's no time to waste.
Some great advice here, Alexandra. We appreciate you coming on. One last question